Hey guys, this is Andrew with Wagonworks. Thanks for tuning into another video, and today I'm going to walk you guys through how I got this 1990 Ford 7.3 IDI running after it's been sitting for 4 years. The fuel in this thing looked terrible, and anyway, we had to go ahead and drain out the fuel from both fuel tanks because both of them were full. So first step was getting all the fuel out of both of the tanks, which we did that, and then I looked the whole vehicle over because this guy wants to drive this thing and it's been sitting for a while. So with that comes all the goodies of an old vehicle that's been sitting for a long time. After draining all the fuel out of it, I was then having an issue with the fuel shutoff valve, which is right in here. So anyway, what I had to do was I pulled the top off the fuel shutoff valve and I soaked it in some Marvel's mystery oil. Once I got the solenoid working correctly, I put it back together, and then after that I had to bleed the fuel system. So with that being said, I had to bleed air out of the entire system, every injector, and luckily I had my dad help me with that because it's kind of a two-person job. So I've got some other clips on that, but right now, today is the final day. I have all the parts in, and I had a brake caliper over on the driver's side that was leaking brake fluid out of the piston, brand new. It was a brand new, brand new reman caliper. And anyway, yeah, so got it on there, was bleeding the brakes, and basically it just started pouring brake fluid out of the lower piston on the brake caliper. But other than that, other things I've done, did wheel cylinders in the rear, a new radiator because the old radiator was starting to leak. As you can see, get some crusties there along the tanks on the top. So we got a new radiator in there. Got that from AutoZone, which actually is a pretty nice radiator. Yes, it has plastic tanks, it's not full aluminum, but I wanted to do this because if you're going to have a truck that someone's going to daily drive, the reason I like the AutoZone radiator over, let's say, an aluminum one or something like that is the fact that I can warranty this radiator for my customer and probably have it next day. So, is it as nice as other radiators? No, not at all. But at least I can warranty it for my customer if he ever has an issue. So with the radiator, we did upper and lower radiator hoses, all new belts, did a new thermostat, wanted to have that replaced, and I actually found a factory Ford Motorcraft thermostat for this thing through WorldPack. Shout out to WorldPack. Fresh oil change, and also front brakes on this guy. Did new pads, calipers, rotors, hoses on the back. Also did new hoses on the back, new wheel cylinders because the wheel cylinders were leaking pretty bad, and with that I adjusted the brakes up, sanded down the drums, sanded down the shoes a little bit so everything's kind of like a new contact patch. But other than that, this truck is really nice. So right now, since I've driven it probably about 15 miles or so, I'm going to put a new fuel filter on it because the junk that was in the tanks is starting to come up into the new fuel filter. So you guys stay tuned in. I'm going to get the fuel filter put on, and then we're going to go for a test drive. So stay tuned. Before we go on the test drive, I'm going to go through some of the repairs I did on this old truck. If you stay tuned in, you'll see some tips and tricks on how to do some of the jobs and some of the maintenance on this truck. There it goes. Yep. And it goes out. Now this should allow, yep. Should allow that to come out, so. Hold on. With that being said, this guy can go back in here. Just run this fella. Oh yeah. All right, guys. One of the last things to do is the rear diff service. So let's get after it. Best idea, but I had to pinch the line off so I could pull the truck out of the shop. Alright guys, so now I'm going to show you how to bleed the brakes by yourself. Go ahead and everything's tight, got all the bleeders tight, go ahead and pump it up about 10 times. So if you want to make this process a little faster for yourself, what I do is get a vacuum. They have little hand vacuums, however you want to do it, but pumped it up. I'm going to crack that bleeder loose, and then alright, so I'm going to crack that bleeder loose, and then I'm going to use this guy to pull brake fluid through. Alright, you see the brake fluid starting to come through. Go ahead, shut it off. Crack it loose. So the brake fluid comes through, and shut it. Keep an eye on your brake fluid. Make sure it's not getting low. There we go. And pump it up. Now you should get a pedal, I would say within probably about 5 strokes now. There we go. Alright, so now what I do at this point, I'm going to crack it and look and see if I get any air bubbles. So we got a little air bubbles there. So I'm going to close it off and do it one more time. There we go, got another air bubble. So if you're by yourself, you can do this, just takes a while. Basically just keep repeating until you don't see any more air bubbles coming out of that bleeder. All right, so the last thing we're gonna do on this thing is replace the fuel filter, because that was a new fuel filter. I've driven it about 12 or 15 miles before I did some of the other stuff. But anyway, since the tank had old fuel in it, and I'm sure a lot of the contaminants and stuff that were in that old fuel went through this filter, what I'm gonna do is put a new fuel filter on it now, and then we're gonna go out for a test drive. So, I'll show you guys how to replace the fuel filter on a 1990 7.3 IDI. Oh yeah, see all that old junk in that fuel there? That's what we don't want. And that is how you can tell this thing has been sitting for a long time. Look at that. So, oh yeah, look at that. So let's go see what the fuel looks like. It's coming out of the center of this though. Not too bad. Put a little bit of transmission fluid in this guy. Here's what I recommend doing. Get yourself a coffee can to catch the fuel, and then push it in, crank it so there's no more air bubbles. Stopping to get some fuel before we go on a test drive. Go ahead and put about $40 in this thing and go for a little cruise. But all this, you know, this is what really makes it all worth it, is going for a little cruise after you're done. Truck's been at my shop for about a month, I would say. Maybe a little longer, but kind of hard to find parts. Had some other jobs here and there I had to get taken care of. So anyway, it's done. Get a little ride in here and give it a shakedown, check it over when I get back to the shop, and then it's time to call the customer, let them know that's all done. All right, let's see how she starts up now. Oh yeah. All right, let's go for a cruise.